Hey guys, the purpose of this video is to talk about how to write a manuscript so that it's ready for submission to a journal, and how I would like you to structure it before you send it to the faculty for review. So let's get into it. So I'm going to use this paper as an example. This is one we just submitted. It's using the Holmes protocol, so it's a fairly recent one. Know that the first thing you always need to do is when you select your journal is to go to the author instructions for that journal. Every journal has its own little quirks, and so what I'm fixing to show you, I'll talk about what is generally true for most journals, and then I'll talk about the weird little quirks for this particular journal, just so you're kind of aware of it. So when you send something to the faculty for final review, I want to see all of this in one long file. So all of this should be in one Word document. And so let's go through it together so you know what it looks like. The first thing that I want to see when I open up your file is the cover letter, and I want to see that with our departmental letterhead. That letterhead template is on Teams. So you should have the date, you should have the journal editor's name and information, and their address. If you're not sure where to get this information, Google is your friend, right? Lots of times the editors are on faculty at another university, in which case, let's just pretend that Mr. Aldcroft was a PhD. It would have said Adrian Aldcroft, PhD, Editor-in-Chief, BMJ Open, and then it would have said, like, for example, University of Pennsylvania with their address and blah, 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 right? So this cover letter is a template that is always used, and you just fill it in, right? So on behalf of my co-authors, I'm pleased to submit the manuscript. Enter in the name of your manuscript and enter in the name of the journal for publication consideration. In this manuscript, we describe and you list your primary findings. You always end with, we confirm that these findings have not been previously published and are not under consideration by another publication. All correspondence concerning this manuscript should be directed to, assuming it's you, you'll say me. If it's me, meaning you, right? If it is someone else, then you would say who it should be contacted to as the person. Thanks in advance for your consideration and your signature. So this is a template. You can find it on Teams. You just fill it in and it's done. But this should be the very first thing when we open up your paper for review. We should see this first. The next thing we should see is the title and author page. So you should have the title. You should have the names of the authors and their affiliations. You should have the corresponding author's contact information. You should have a manuscript word count, an abstract word count. How many words is it actually in the document out of the total allowed by the journal? Number of tables, number of figures, the correspondence information. Sometimes the conflict of interest statement and the ethics statement, which is your IRB review, are on this page as well. For BMJ, we put it further down. But no, for some journals, it's included in your title and author statement. If it doesn't say that it wants it included in a separate location, I'll usually put it on this page. So this is the second document we should see when we open up your article. The third thing we should see should be your abstract. Typically, abstracts are formatted as either introduction or background. Look at the journal for the subheading they prefer. And then it's going to have your methods and your results and your discussion. For this journal, it's a little different because this is a protocol paper, so we don't have a results and a discussion section. So it's a little different, but that idea is there. Some journals want you to have key points. BMJ wanted strengths and limitations pulled out as a subheading. This is unique to BMJ, but it is typical to have key points. It's 3 to 5 bullets, sort of the main takeaways of the journal. Not every journal wants those key points, but if they do, they typically fall right here when you're formatting your article. And then you always have your keywords. Your keywords should never be the keywords that are in your article title. Use different words, right? Because your journal title is going to already populate when someone does a keyword search. So use different keywords so that you increase the likelihood that someone will find your article. So that's the third section, right? After that comes your manuscript. Your manuscript should not include your figures and tables. Do not embed your figures and tables in the manuscript. I'll show you where those go afterwards. But you're going to have your full manuscript. And then after your manuscript, watch your eyes, I'm going to go fast. After your manuscript comes your references. Notice that this is double spaced with a 1-inch margin. You want it double spaced with a 1-inch margin. Okay? The funding statement, BMJ wanted it at the end, but sometimes if they don't specify, I will usually put that up with that title and author page as well. Again, this is journal specific. Some journals want it at the end, some at the top. The funding, the ethics, the conflict of interest, we could have pasted that further up. This is something you run into every now and then with a journal, but not always. But it's important to recognize, I'll just go over it. This is a very BMJ specific thing, but I have had to do it before. And that is where you state the role each author had on the manuscript. So this is an example of what that looks like really quickly. J. Mike Wilkerson is a multi-principal investigator with expertise in substance use and recovery support services. He led the drafting and submission of the manuscript. Here's his contact email, right? And I did that for each person. References are usually the last part of the manuscript section. And again, double space between references. The last section are your figures and your tables. There is one figure or one table per page. So you can see we have the figures and we have the tables at the end. When you send something for faculty review, this is what we want to see. We want to see it in this format. We want to see the format that's prepared for the journal. Please send us a clean version. You should not be sending us something with a bunch of comments and track changes. We want to see the cleanest version you can possibly send us for review. So work with your other folks on your submission team to get that paper cleaned up so that when we have it, we have a good draft to review. It's very important. Don't be sending us a bunch of comments and things. Give us a clean one, then we'll do an edit on it using track changes and send it back to you. Why is it that I want to see this whole thing in this format? It's helpful to see it because what you're going to do when it comes time to submit is you're going to split it into sections. So for submission, most journals, not all, but most journals want you to split it out into these different areas. So you're going to have one file for your cover letter, one file for your title and authors, one file for your abstract and keywords, one file for your manuscript with citations, and then another file for your figures, and another file for your tables. And you'll upload all of those as separate files when you submit in manuscript, whatever the manuscript submitting software that the journal is using. Okay, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please reach out to a faculty member.